Every town has that one back road you aren't supposed to drag down at night. In Maryland, that road belongs to the Goatman. For over 70 years, the dense woods of Prince George's County have served as ground zero for a bizarre, hyper-localized monster myth. Depending on who you ask, the creature is either a botched government science experiment, an axe-wielding hermit, or a convenient lie made up by high school kids to cover up weekend vandalism. Regardless of what actually stopped those tree lines, the rumors successfully turned a real piece of Maryland geography into a permanent landmark for local fear. Descriptions of the creature are remarkably consistent across decades of sightings. Eyewitnesses report a bipedal figure standing 6 to 8 feet tall, featuring the muscular torso of a man paired with the horns, legs, and cloven hoofs of a goat. You usually hear him before you see him. The arrival of the Goatman is famously announced by a high-pitched, agonizing squeal, followed closely by the gleam of a heavy metal axe. He doesn't hunt deep in the wilderness. His preferred territories are Lover's Lanes and dirt pull-offs like Fletchertown Road and Zook Road. Police reports from the late 1950s detail complaints of a creature smashing the windows of parked cars, bending antennas, and mutilating local pets. By attaching these violent, predatory traits to the exact places teenagers wanted to hang out, local folklore transformed ordinary suburban backroads into high-stakes danger zones in the minds of the residents. The Goatman survived as a quiet oral whisper in Upper Marlboro for over a decade. Then, in 1971, a students' folklore project reached the Prince George's County News, thrusting the monster into the regional spotlight. The timing was perfect. A few weeks later, a family found the puppy decapitated near Fletchertown Road. The owner went on the record, telling reporters that the Goatman was responsible for the attack. With the monster now making headlines, the public needed an origin story. The most popular narrative pointed to the nearby Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, claiming Dr. Stephen Fletcher spliced human and goat DNA, accidentally turning himself into an axe-wielding abomination. Another prominent theory ignored the wild entirely, claiming the beast was actually a severely mutated patient who slunk away from the nearby Glendale Hospital. These competing narratives show a community attempting to rationalize its own ghost stories. By tethering the creature to actual government labs and medical facilities, locals anchored their irrational fears to real-world tangible institutions. To see why this myth exploded, look at Prince George's County in the 1970s. The area rapidly lost its isolated rural farmland to massive grids of new suburban housing. This expansion created immediate friction, as brand new neighborhoods pressed up against dark, unfamiliar woods. Maryland already had a history of weaponizing folklore to maintain boundaries. Decades earlier, Western moonshiners encouraged stories of a winged beast called the Smallygaster to keep revenue agents and curious neighbors away from their woodland stills. The Goatman served a similar function, but with modern ingredients. You had 1950s parents trying to keep their kids out of the woods, colliding with Cold War-era distrust of government science, and a booming 1970s teenage dare culture that practically demanded a local boogeyman. The monster didn't materialize out of nowhere. It was a required cultural mechanism, helping a changing county process the uncomfortable friction of rapid suburbanization. Folklorists analyzing the Goatman point out that the legend relies almost entirely on bored teenagers. The stories are kept alive by high schoolers daring each other to park at local hotspots, like the historic Crybaby Bridge, waiting for an attack. Once you're sitting in the pitch black of a remote dirt road, psychology takes over. Fear and isolation prime the brain to misinterpret mundane wildlife, like a deer rearing up in the brush, as something completely unnatural. The physical evidence left behind is easily explained by the environment itself. Smashed car windows suggest teenage vandalism, missing cats align with wild predators, and heavy commuter trains cutting through. The Beltsville Agricultural Research Center even issued a formal denial in 2013, pointing out that if a mutated scientist escaped in the 1970s, he would be collecting Social Security by now. Explaining away the physical creature doesn't erase the impact of the story. The panic it generated, the curfews it enforced, and the adrenaline it provided to local teenagers were entirely real. The winding dirt roads of Valley are mostly paved over today, but the Goatman has successfully migrated to the internet, thriving on Reddit brabs, reading cryptid wikis, and YouTube investigations. The creature has become a pop culture staple, inspiring local haunted houses, serving as a case study in books like Monsters of Maryland, and heavily influencing Monster of the Week television shows like The X-Files. When we pull back and look at a map of American folklore, we see similar built hybrid cryptids popping up across the country, from the Lake Worth monster in Texas to the Poke Lick monster in Kentucky. The core trope of a beast guarding an isolated area is universal, but each state attaches its own distinct local flavor. The myth's survival into the 21st century suggests that its appeal is tied directly to regional identity. It doesn't need physical proof to stay relevant. It only needs people who remember the stories. Folklore is a living, breathing entity. It adapts to the anxieties of the people telling it, reshaping itself to fit the fears of the era. Whether the Goatman was a loud mistake, an eccentric hermit, or just a trick of the headlights, the legend perfectly captures the thrill of storytelling after dark. By anchoring a local monster to a specific set of backroads, the Maryland Goatman legend achieved something permanent. It successfully gave the community's collective fear a physical home that even the digital age hasn't been able to pave over. What local legend haunts the backroads of your county? Let us know in the comments below.